Welcome to Whole and Healthy Cooking with Chef Val. Hi, I'm Chef Valerie Wilson. I have been teaching healthy, whole foods cooking classes since 1997, and I'm the author of 5 cookbooks. You can find out more information about all I have to offer on my website, macroval.com. Today, I thought I would teach you about celery and how to chop celery. So celery is traditionally a summertime food, although it's available all year round, and it has some tremendous health benefits. But what's so great about celery is that its natural crunch and beautiful green color always add just a wonderful touch to any dish you're making. For instance, if you were going to make soup, celery's fantastic. You could put it in a salad. In the summertime, I love making whole grain salads and then chopping up some celery and putting it in there. In the wintertime, chop up some celery and put it in a casserole. Tastes really good in a casserole. Now, whenever I make chili, I always put diced celery in my chili too. So when you go to the store and you buy your celery, first and foremost, you want to look for celery that is firm. So you don't want celery that's wilted. That means it's been in the store for a long time. So it should be nice and firm. And then when you take one of the stalks off, you should hear that beautiful crack. That means that it's very firm. Let's take another one off. Beautiful crack, right? So I'll store the rest of it in the fridge because I'm not ready to use it. I'm just going to dice 2 celery stalks. So this is a celery stalk. This whole celery right here is like a whole bulb of celery, all right? And you're going to notice that there's some dirt in there, so we need to wash it first, right? You can do that in the sink. I always buy organic vegetables, remember? So I'm just going to wash my celery with some water. And I just do it with the best kitchen tools that there are, your hand. So I'm just going to take my thumb and I'm just rubbing the celery like so, all right? And it just gets the dirt off. Now you can use a vegetable brush. If you've got one of those vegetable brushes, you can use it. But for these little nooks and crannies that the celery has, I find that my hands and my fingers usually work much better. So you just wash the celery. Now let's troubleshoot. Let's say you bought some celery, it's been sitting in your fridge for a while, and now it's wilted. Well, you don't want to throw the celery out, right? So what you can do is you can chop the celery and then put it in a bowl with really cold water. You could use ice cubes, like water, and then put ice cubes. So the really cold water will crisp up the celery again, make it crisp again, which is what you want. You don't want the wilty celery. So we have 2 stalks of celery on our cutting board, and now we're going to chop the celery. Now remember, whenever you chop vegetables, you get your cutting board a little bit wet. Fills in the pores of the wood, see? Fills in the pores of the wood so the wood doesn't absorb the color and the odor of the vegetable that you're chopping. Makes a huge difference. Your cutting board doesn't smell like garlic or onions or anything like that. So when it comes to chopping the celery, I usually just chop off a little bit off the end because it looks kind of funky from breaking it off of the bulb. And then this little piece right here, I usually chop this off and I usually save this for soup. I usually use this part of the celery for soup and then this part for, like if I'm going to do a casserole or stir fry or something like that. Now to work with the celery, it's relatively long. So let's cut it in half first. Make sure you can see the cutting board there. And then I'm going to take the celery stalk and I'm going to cut it in slits. So I have this one in 3 because this is a smaller. This one is fatter, right? So I will probably cut this one in 4. So you see how I've got this one in 3, this one in 4. But then when I go to chop it, I get relatively the same size pieces. That's important when you're working on a recipe. You want all the vegetables to be relatively the same size so that they cook at the same amount of time, but also so that it looks pleasing to the eye. Right? So there's one celery stalk dice. go with the next one. Now, celery has very high water content. So that's important because in the summertime when you're really active, your body gets dehydrated. Celery can help hydrate your body, so it's fantastic for that. Celery has natural occurring sodium, and so that sodium that's in there, again, helps to replenish your fluids in the summertime when you're really active. Although you're really active in the wintertime too, and you don't want to get dehydrated in the wintertime, so celery's good for that also. So here's our beautiful diced celery. Right. Another thing that celery is excellent for is it helps to manage your blood pressure. So if you're dealing with any blood pressure issues, celery is your go-to. Celery is also known for strengthening your artery walls, and it has a wonderful diuretic property, which means it flushes toxins out of your system, and it also helps to cleanse the blood. So that's celery for you, and I hope you get a chance to use celery in the next recipe. Many of my recipes on the Whole and Healthy Cooking channel contain celery, and so now you know how to chop the celery. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, your journey to eating healthy begins with one small step. Let's make that small step eating celery.